So, my speech is about physician-assisted suicide. Everyone has a predetermined date that their life will end. But who is a physician or a sick person to choose? Since they didn't create their lives or the person's life, then how did it become an option to end it? Terminal illness is a hard thing to deal with. But what if your illness was misdiagnosed? What if you had more days than you thought to live? I will go more in depth about this later on in my speech. Last week, I conducted a survey of the class asking my classmates how they felt about physician-assisted euthanasia. I asked 8 people, and 5 out of the 8 I asked said they were for, and the others said they were against. But before you could accurately answer that question, I would have had to include this information. Physician-assisted euthanasia, if not voluntary, is completely illegal. The 2 other types are non-voluntary euthanasia, and that's where a person is unable to give their consent, for example, because they are in a coma or are severely brain damaged. And another person would make the decision of ending their life because the ill person previously expressed a wish for their life to be ended in such circumstances. Involuntary euthanasia is where a person is killed against their expressed wishes. So maybe you thought that physician-assisted euthanasia actually meant physician-assisted suicide, which can either be administered by a certified physician or a patient themselves. So do you see how easy it was for you to make that mistake? I could almost guarantee, had I given you the exact definition and then asked the question, no one would have said they were for euthanasia. See, that is part of being a human being. And sometimes we are wrong. In today's speech, I will discuss the inaccuracies of remaining life expectancy, how common misdiagnoses really are, and finally, the morality behind it all. The life expectancy given to the patient is more than likely inaccurate. Marie Curie palliative care research conducted an examination of 4,600 medical notes where physicians predicted a patient's survival and showed a variations in errors. So this is a chart that I made. This represents, 100 people. Physicians overestimated the days that they had to live by 50%. They underestimated by 17%. And the actual days that they had to live versus the actual days that they lived was 33%. Ranging from 93 days overestimate and 86 days underestimate. So then that's just the chart. I have heard countless stories of a doctor predicting a patient to have 6 months to live and are still alive many years later. It is an easy mistake to make. And no matter how long or short a doctor has been in practice, mistakes are just as likely to occur as a beginning one. So let's say the prediction is accurate. What makes the patients so sure that they are really dying? What determined the option to even consider physician-assisted suicide? For starters, the patient must be a resident of either Oregon, Vermont, California, Colorado, and most recently, Washington. The patient then must be diagnosed with a terminal illness and have 6 months or less to live. But who determines the lifespan? You guessed it, a physician. A mere human medical doctor. Misdiagnoses are far too common. According to CBS News, 12 million Americans are misdiagnosed each year. And although doctors spend a large amount of time in medical school, they are still only human and are only bound to make mistakes. A survey in ncpa.org found that a whopping 96% of physicians felt that diagnostic errors were preventable, and half of them said they encounter at least one of them each a month. So now let's assume the accuracy is right and the patient has had numerous second opinions. Now we can move on to the morality of taking the physician's oath. Physician-assisted suicide is morally wrong because a Hippocratic oath written for newly certified physicians specifically states, "I will not give a legal drug to anyone if I am asked, nor will I advise such a plan." That in itself is a reason to deny fulfilling a terminally ill patient's request of physician-assisted suicide. Besides, there are other alternatives to aid a patient in dying. They include palliative care, which in my opinion is just as wrong because a patient receives sedation to the point of unconsciousness, and that person only has hours to days to live. Any other treatment is denied, and the patient is denied an IV to administer nutrition and fluids to keep them hydrated. In my opinion, they should just be given the option of electrocution. It is equally as wrong to me. A doctor has no right to end someone's life. And for that matter, what gives a patient that authority? Considering the fact that they didn't create it, neither should be able to take it. This is a selfish decision that robs the dying patient of spending their last moments on earth with their family members.